Vespertine is, I don't think it's a restaurant at all. It's just like an event, and it's a journey, and it's an experiment. Once you walk in, the journey starts.
Architecture, from my point of view today, is not only about buildings. It has to do with food, with fashion, with many other things. And I think Jordan represents a new breed of chefs that they think also outside the conventions of what food is, how to speculate new ideas in a field that it has centuries of tradition.
A restaurant like this, it's a form of escapism. And for us, and for me personally, I mean, synthesizing an environment that not only promotes whatever ideas that we have, but also creates this sort of world in a sense that, like, there's so many people who come here and chefs, etc., and they're looking for some sort of historical artifacts or some sort of evidence of cultural reference, and they're like, it has none. A huge part of what makes that the case is the architecture, and certainly a lot of the other elements that Moss and his team came up with.
I think I've always been reluctant, honestly, to compromise the content of architecture or to share it in a conceptual way. So if I wanted to represent the collaboration, the work that we've done together, actually still going, I could say that Jordan was willing to give a unique place to architecture in the conception of restaurant.
Once you walk in, the journey starts. Someone takes you, you enter this lobby with this beautiful hanging sculpture, and it kind of represents the dining table.
The idea of walking into an empty room as your first experience in a restaurant, where this really fascinating, crazy hanging piece, and there's just an open parked elevator, is an incredible entrance.
And someone guides you to the elevator, and that's the only place that you don't hear the sound. And the silence breaks with the door opens, and you see the chef and his team at the back saying welcome. And I think that's like a really powerful moment.
Food is a particularly interesting medium to work in because it is so culturally specific. It is very personal. For me, it's not necessarily about removing history, it's about changing the context or the juxtaposition. So we can always trace it back to its origins, but the guest may not be able to do so.
In this particular case, one thing I find fascinating, that there is a true alignment between the experience of eating or dining with the experience of architectural space.
The fact of the matter is you're never done.
Right.
You're actually never finished. In substantial ways, the project continues to change. It continues to modify itself. That's an important part of the process. It's never finished.
Year one and then year two is going to look different, and year three will look different, and it should. Part of the art is learning what it's telling us it's going to do and how that's impacting the experience for guests, and figuring out what we need to do to supplement.
And there's something really interesting to me about what is the desire of the author of any kind of a creative endeavor, about who you're doing it for, and what is the role of that, and how much the provocation plays a role into it. But I find really interesting between the relation between the critics, the audience, and the author, and how, from my point of view, the most interesting kind of work, which I think both of you are doing, always break the relation between those three pieces. Like it doesn't form a perfect pyramid or a perfect triangle anymore. It's something else, and it will require a different kind of drawing.
A lot of what we developed here is a very personal representation of who I am, and certainly a lot of it of who Moss is. I'm just really trying to be as authentic as I possibly can, and putting forth something that really is a genuine kind of approach to my craft.
I think it's really interesting. It's just you are part of part of the play also. You're not just like there watching it. Try figure out how you're gonna eat. I don't know. I don't give you forks and knives. Like, let's see what you're gonna do. You see the possibilities are everywhere. It depends like how you look at it.
When you extend the dimension, you extend the topic, you actually bring in colleagues and friends that you never knew. People talking about architecture who don't conventionally do that and have a frame of reference which doesn't originate with architecture, but starts to share it. It enlarges the topic, it extends the topic, and I think that's what comes out of an experience like this.